Fight, flight, or freeze? That is the question. Every one of us has wondered at least one point in our life, what would I do if I was faced with a sudden and dramatic emergency? If someone attacked me while I was out and about, if someone broke into my home, if a loved one suffered a traumatic medical emergency right in front of me, would I be able to make the right decisions? Well, luckily, there are both a science and a methodology specifically built to ensure that you do make the right decision in those types of situations. They are combined and employed by everyone from military to police, fire, doctors, and engineers. In this video, I am discussing heuristics and stress inoculation and how they work together to make you harder to kill in a survival situation. And look, I know that term survival situation gets thrown around a lot, and it's used to justify some really terrible takes by influencers and others. But the simple fact is you will never know how you will react in a do or die situation until you are faced with one. And that's what this video is all about, ensuring the odds are forever in your favor. Let's begin with heuristics. Heuristics is the study and use of practical methods that enable problem-solving, learning, and decision-making when optimal or exhaustive methods are impractical. To put it simply, heuristics are mental shortcuts and techniques that allow us to make decisions under uncertainty, snap judgments, if you will, when we don't have time to consider all possible or even optimal solutions. When you only have time to act and act decisively. They are a practical guide to decision-making when time is extremely limited. So let's talk about how that works. Here are some practical uses of heuristics in sudden and dangerous emergencies. First and foremost is to reduce cognitive overload. That is what happens when we freeze. It's a bit of paralysis by analysis, so to speak. Our minds are overwhelmed by the sudden emergency and they can't make the right decision. That jiggly CPU in our skull is processing a million scenarios at once and it can't pick which one is right. They all seem wrong. Now you combine that with an adrenaline dump and there you have your freeze reflex. Now I know many of us associate an adrenaline dump with a sudden surge of aggression and energy. You know, grandma can lift the car off the trapped child. That's an old and I think true story. You can look that one up. But here's the thing. When an adrenaline dump happens in a sudden emergency, it is more often associated with a paralyzing fear and panic. In some circles, they call it going code black. The heart races, the blood pressure spikes, and the mind is overwhelmed. It also enables rapid decision making in an emergency, a go with your gut attitude that is appropriate when well trained. Emphasis on the when well trained. It can simplify workable solutions to complex and rapidly evolving problems. And of course, another reason why we love it is it can support adaptive behavior in dynamic environments. This is one of the main keys to its success when combined with stress inoculation. So let's talk about the most common heuristic study, the availability heuristic. The concept of the availability heuristic is very important for training to perform in sudden, dynamic, and stressful events. This concept was developed by Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman in the 1970s. To sum it up for our purposes, the availability heuristic seeks to identify what will be easiest to recall, easiest for our brain, our minds to recall under these stressful and often dynamic and dangerous circumstances. It is said that events which are recent, frequent, or emotionally intense, like especially positive, or especially negative, or vivid events, or events that are highly talked about in the media or in social circles, are the most easily recalled. And now here is where stress inoculation comes in. We can use stress inoculation to fill up the availability heuristic, where our recall and reflex will be better tuned to get you through the situation safely. And that is how stress inoculation, when combined with heuristics, can help us reduce the chance of cognitive overload when faced with a sudden emergency. To help us rapidly decipher whether fight, flight, or some combination of both is the proper decision, and to ensure we never ever freeze. So stress inoculation, when trained properly, can help fill your availability heuristic with useful memories and responses, especially trained responses. Stress inoculation is exactly what it sounds like. It is a psychological training method that strengthens an individual's ability to handle stress through controlled exposure, skill development, and rehearsal. When done right, it is a structured process, gradually exposing an individual to a manageable level of stress so they can develop coping skills before facing high stress situations. Some examples of this are boot camps for the military, academies for fire and police, live sparring for MMA fighters, kickboxers, things like that. Proper stress inoculation starts small and works its way up. It is not intended to overwhelm or break down the student, but to build them and make them more resilient. Let's start with martial arts training as an easy example. When you first take a kickboxing or Muay Thai or MMA class, they don't start you off putting you in the ring against a skilled fighter, getting pounded and see how you do. You start learning simple strikes and footwork. Then you get up to pad work and heavy bag work, and then light sparring, and then heavy sparring. And finally, if you so choose, you are prepared to go into the ring against another skilled tactician. Now, this approach allows a student to safely and successfully build their skill level, build their reflexes so they can go into a match like that and not wind up on a stretcher. So as you progress in your stress inoculation training, your availability heuristic becomes filled up with memories from your practical, real-world training and skill sets that you've developed. Your recent, frequent, and emotionally intense memories will be filled with those that you developed in the ring against a resisting opponent. So going with the martial arts example, that means your recent, frequently, and emotionally intense memories will be those of you fighting in the ring with techniques that you learned for practical application. And this means you are less likely to freeze if suddenly and criminally attacked, and much more likely to deliver a solid 1-2 or a nice powerful head kick. You've built these reflexes into your system. Now, this goes for any sudden or intense situation you may find yourself in, be it medical or tactical or otherwise. By combining heuristics and stress inoculation into your training, you are building reflexes which can be called upon in dangerous or even life-threatening situations. Survival situations, if you will. My name is Thomas Quinn. I'm a professional survival instructor. I hope you like and share this video, and may the odds forever be in your favor.